Our guest is Reverend Armstrong Appia. He is one of the people that I met during my first trip to Ghana in 2019. He was actually a friend of Dr. Jones, Dr. Nolan Jones' brother, Nathan. Had a relationship with Reverend Armstrong and asked us to go and check in on him when we were there in Kumasi. So we went and spent a couple of days, or visited on a couple of occasions over the course of a couple of days. And as a result, it went to some of the services, enjoyed some of being able to experience a Christian church service in Kumasi. But then we also ended up being business partners as well, in addition to being a reverend in Kumasi. Reverend Armstrong is also an Ashanti weaver, a traditional Ashanti weaver, a well renowned Ashanti weaver. And we began the relationship of being able to provide the customized kente. And from there, have formed what I'd like to say is a friendship now, in addition to our partnership. We've invited Reverend Armstrong today to talk about traditional spirituality in Ghana. Really, I've asked him this question before in person, so it's kind of almost the same question, but just speaking to traditional spirituality as you were raised, and how does that intertwine with Christianity? As you know, the Wose is what we consider a traditional African house of spiritual worship.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction and thanks for having me. And I'm so glad to be awakened at this point, and also glad that God have given me the power and the strength to stay up and have also make the connection of the network very well today. The signal is very strong, and that's great. I thank you so much for that. Yes, let me take this time to say this. My name is Reverend Armstrong. I was born on Thursday, so you can call me Yao. Yao, Y-A-W,
Yeah.
Y-A-W. Yes. And since Yao is a name given to every Thursday born male, if you come to my house and you call Yao, many of them will ask you, which of the Yaos are you looking for? Then you mention Armstrong. So when you say Armstrong, they know exact person you are actually looking for. Right. So thank you so much once again. And I'm the founder and the leader of a church in Kumasi called Yesu Christo Yohene International Ministry. Yesu Christo Yohene International Ministry. Yesu, Yesu Christo, or Yesu means Jesus, and Christo means Christ. So we say Yesu Christo Yohene International Ministry. That's Jesus Christ is King International Ministry. Um, why do we use the local dialect for the church? Is that we want to promote uh, the language of the Ashanti. We want to promote the language of Ghana. That we can also make changes. It's not always that we have to speak English or foreign country language before people will understand us. We need to uphold our culture as well. And that's why we have the name Nemi in our local dialect, our local dialect. Right. So we are located in Kumasi in Ghana. Kumasi is the second largest city of Ghana. Kumasi is the second largest city of Ghana. And in a town, if you get to Kumasi, there's a town called Oshim. It's really difficult to pronounce it, but we call Oshim, Ohwim, Oshim. That is where my church is actually located. So, like, our big man. I didn't ask of your name. I am HOTEP.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Like you asked before, now you know that I stay in Kumasi. I actually stay in Kumasi, and I'm in my room right now talking to you. In my room now, right now, talking to you. Okay. So back to what we have to talk today. I will say thank you, Danisha, for bringing me on board, and I really appreciate that, Dr. Danisha. And if you have any question, you may feel free to ask me if I don't talk about what you're thinking of. But I'm always open and available to take every question as the host grants me. You know. Okay, so I'm probably going to talk about um, African spirituality, like the Danisha said, in perspective of Christianity in Ghana here in Kumasi. Whilst I was growing up, I learned something before I was transformed to Christianity. So I'll begin with that, and then I end up in Christianity aspect and why am I a Christian? Why would we Christianity take in the spiritual form? How do we actually embrace what are the importance of the Christianity spirituality, and how do we see the spiritual form of Christianity? These are the things that I'll actually be backing on at this particular point. You know, before when I was during the early age, I would tell you that traditional in our African traditional religion, especially in Ghana traditional religion, it varies from home, house to house. We don't have a founder for um, the traditional religion. There's no founder for the traditional religion, according to history, tell us that. So if you ask me who is the traditional religion founder, I will just tell you my grandparents, they're from one house to another. Every community has its own traditional religion or traditional culture or what they believe in. And we just talk about how we greet, how we eat, how we shake hands, how we bow, how we talk to others. That is our traditional beliefs. And it varies from every community. Every community have their own traditional beliefs that, oh, that's what we have to do. If you see an elder, make sure you greet the person in a worthy manner. And when you go to a house and an elderly man enter your house and you are sitting on a chair, and when the elderly man enter, please get up as a child and give the chair to the elderly man. That shows a sum of respect in African view of that. Besides that, we have a means of way of also greeting, respecting. We see every elderly person in the village or in the community as our mother or our father. If it could be, even though they are not the one that gave birth to us, but that's what the community tells us. That if you don't respect them, your life might turn out being bad or in a way that you're going to be miserable. So you need to give respect. For respect is reciprocal in every elder you meet in the street. It doesn't only limit yourself to your father or your mother or somebody you know in the society or in your house, but everybody. That makes you to live a good life, that makes you to grow up and be a good person, and that brings positive energy to you. So based on our traditional religion, it was really great that each and everybody have a backup. Everybody keep an eye on each and everybody. So when things is going wrong, like if your child get lost or get missing or is sick in the street, somebody will probably pick up the child, bring him or her to the house, and we seek for spiritual basis and some help to take care of the sick person. And this brings you to how before Christianity came to this world in our country, Ghana, especially in my Kumasi, how did we actually see the spiritual activity based on that? In terms of healing on all those, in terms of worshiping God, there were means of way that we did actual worship God besides that before we found out Christianity and I was introduced to Christianity. Personally, I will tell you that I was born in one of the way that I was born in the traditional religion, then I was transformed from the traditional religion to Christianity in the Pentecostal life. So I became a Pentecostal at that particular point when I was growing. My parents took me to a Pentecostal. Now, let me tell you this. So before Christianity came, during the 15th century, with the Portuguese, from the Portuguese to Ghana, we're having our own means of worshiping God. And the means that we do worshiping God is that we worship God through creation, the things around us. We look into trees, we see the trees, and we say, whoever created this tree should be glorified. And once we talk about that, we refer into the supreme being. And when we go to the stream, we bless, we give thanks to the one who created the stream, though we don't know where it's coming from, but we know that we're referring to the supreme being. And when there is a sickness in a society which is uncurable, meaning we've done everything that we can and no one is getting healed, or they're not getting a good response from it, what they do is that they need to pour libation. Libation is an art of using wine or snap. We in a local here we call a drink called snaps, which me being a Christian, I can't take it anyway. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. So a wine, they pour the wine on the floor, invoke the sky to seek for supernatural intervention from the supreme being, asking God to interfere, asking the ancestors, our ancestors, to interfere to show the cause of that particular diseases or sickness, especially should, let's say, COVID-19 or coronavirus is not something that everybody is looking forward to keep on. COVID-19 hit Ghana badly. What do we have to do? That we will call all the dominations in Ghana here, included the traditional leaders, that they have to come and pour libation. So they pour libation to call the ancestors to come and show us where that particular disease is coming from. Is it from the supreme being? Is it a curse? Is it somebody who have committed something? Is it somebody who have invoked it, which is affecting the entire country? They will surely find out what is going on. And that is by pouring libation. And the libation is like you hold the wine, you pour it on the ground, they sing with a song, and then finally, surely the spirit being will speak, which is the supreme being, will speak through anyone who actually pour libation, or through a priest. In during the olden days, they have a place called Okomfo, because there was no pastors like me, there was no reverend like me. There was people there who actually have the ears and have the power to access the spiritual word. So when the libation is poured, then the supreme being will speak through that such person and declare what is going on. And sometimes the supreme being will just take the curses away. Now let me give you this example, and I go ahead. Especially, let's assume that there is a hen or a cock, and the cock break 8 feet, or something happened by like a broken bone. We use this to say that before the European came, African have a means of way treating ourselves, both spiritually and physically. So we wouldn't say the European made us whom we are today, but we say the supreme being made us whom we are today, because the sense that we have and the knowledge we have before the European came was even greater than what they have today. Just we used to say we made them whom they are. We made what European, American, any country, we Africans make them whom they are. Without us, they couldn't be what they have. They couldn't develop their country and all those, So we say when a bone is broken, without all those hospital, medical aspect, what they do is they just pick a tree, a stick. We will pick a stick, and then you tie the stick to the broken bone. And within some couple of days, the bone will be joined together. The bone will be joined together. And that tells us that that is a sense of the supreme being knowledge acquired to us. And when we apply, it actually works. The Bible says that our God says we should eat the fruit and use the leaf to heal all infirmities or sicknesses. So this tells us that there is power in the leaves. So when we actually use the leaves, it doesn't actually tell me or tell somebody that is bad or is not good. But this is a part of the spiritual form knowledge imparted into human, and with us also in Africa here in Ghana, when we put in practice, it actually works. So with a scope, with a short words about a general phenomenon given to you of traditional spirituality or in traditional religion, this is what I would say, jumping from that particular side to enter into Christianity with what we see about the spirituality of in Christianity according to African beliefs. Any question before I go ahead?
Yes, I have a question, and you may cover this. So, but do they pour libation in Christian churches in Ghana?
Yes, there are some Christian churches that pour libation, and there are some Christian churches that don't pour libation. Me being a reverend minister, or me being a pastor of a church, I'll tell you that pouring libation in a church is not bad, but the people does not believe that. They see it to be bad because of the early missionary, how they see our African belief contrary against their belief, and that's caused that. But the Bible says that we shall know the truth, and the truth will set us free. So the more that we are growing, the more that we are getting knowledge into the Christianity religion, and we know that, oh, this is something God actually gave it to us, and we cannot throw it away. We need to use it, especially in the olden days, we eat, and these days we still eat. Christians eat, pastors eat, everybody eat. So if you tell me this is bad, then I think we shouldn't eat. So when I learn my case like that, then they do, I believe, oh, okay, we shouldn't throw our religion out, our culture out, because culture exists before Christianity. That's what I would say. But in some of the churches, they have some churches that they actually do libation in their premises, and some churches, they don't do it. Some pastors even will do it behind, which I'm a pastor and I know what I'm talking about. That's what I would say. Some will do it behind and will let you know what they are actually doing. But to answer your question, some does and some does not. Pentecostal churches will not do. About 75% of charismatic churches wouldn't do. And I would say about 25% of the charismatic churches also would do.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're
Madasi.
Manasi, you speaking my language. Oh yeah, dear pa. Anisha, you're supposed to be speaking to.
I'm working on it, Reverend. I'm working on it. Baba Katavasi has a question, though. Baba Katavasi.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, good evening, Reverend Armstrong, and I'm sure it's quite late where you're at. But my question is, prior to the arrival of Christianity, did you not have priests or spiritual elders within the community that provided some type of spiritual guidance to people? You said that everybody practiced in their home individually different, but does that emanate from some basic, some standard in your community there?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Baba Katabazi. Yes, that's a powerful question. And before the arrival of the Portuguese in dating back in the 15th century, like I said, we were actually practicing the tertiary religion from our home, culture to culture, community by community. But every community have an elder. Every community has an elder who has an insight of some diseases, how to apprehend or uphold the supreme being, how to talk to the supreme being, and the person passes it on to generation by generation. That is even how I got to know that they were pouring the Paul's libation, the Paul libation. So yes, there is worthy grown-up people, grandparents, grandmother and grandfathers that who actually, when we facing challenges, we actually go to, and they can easily tell us, oh, this is what you need to do, and this is what you have to say. And okay, this is what you have to do, this is what you have to say, and this is how things actually works. This is how things actually works, and that's what we need to do. So yes, that is how it actually go. Like, let's say they were pleased, and they were pleased. The pleased that we see them today, when I get to Christianity, you understand why some point people don't really regard the pleased Christianity contrary against the pleased on these days. But those days, the pleased there, I would say some of the pleased, even if they were existing today, they will have been pastors or reverend ministers. As what is going on, telling the fortune and telling things about what is about to happen, the destiny of a child, what kind of sicknesses, what is going on in the family, what somebody needs to do. Like I used to tell people like that. So some of them are just like that, especially when a lady wants to give, when somebody is giving birth. There was nothing like mortuary hospitals in those days. But we have elderly people who saw their mothers or their grandparents receiving babies and delivering people, and they also have that knowledge in them and help us to um, to help the ladies in delivery as well. There is a tree that have a catholic oil inside it, and when a lady is about to deliver, once the person takes that particular seed of that tree, what happens is that the person will be able to deliver with an ease. So even this today's mortuary hospitals, even when somebody cannot give birth, that particular seed, if they give it to that person, the person will be able to give birth easily. And how did you know that? We got to know that through an elderly person in the community, in the society, who still exist and remain and saw what was going on and transform the knowledge to the youth so that we can also pass on when we grow to our generations, and that will continue from generation to generation. That's how I explain your question. That's how I answer your question. Okay,
Yes, yes, it does. Thank you very much.
you're welcome.
I have a question, Reverend Armstrong. I know I'm thinking maybe a place where the Christianity and your traditional religion may cross. There's a place that I know you go to pray, a mountain that you go to pray. I forget the
The
name of it.
mountain, yeah.
Tell me, what is the name again? He's gone out for a second. He'll be back, hopefully. Coming back.
Is the place where Jesus Christ on the cross going to die, and we named that particular mountain Gluto to represent the suffering of Jesus Christ.
Did your ancestors prior to Christianity pray at that same place?
No, my ancestors actually did not go to the same place like where I'm going in. because during those days, I tell you, you know where the bone rate kente weaving is, bone rate where the kente weaving place. I tell
Yeah.
you what, before today you can drive about uh 10 minutes to get to that place from my location or from your hotel straight to that place. But in those days, some will walk about 3 days before they get to in Kumasi, the capital, the main Kumasi. It was a village. So you can tell working 3 days or 4 days. Now that was a big place. But listen, this one goes on. When my ancestors see that particular rock or the mountain that is bigger like that, they give regards to the supreme being and say, blessed to the Lord who created this. And some of them even goes there. When they go there, what they do is that they bow down to they bow down, not about prayer, but they bow down to call upon the supernatural power of God to come in their life. And some even took that place as a resting point, a resting point. And then they also would take that place as a measuring point, assuming traveling to a place when they get to that particular rock or mountain, what they do there, they have to take a rest. They will sleep on and take a rest and continue, you know. And we started turning all these mountains into that particular grotto we have it today. We go there to pray because of Christianity today, especially around the mountains. A pastor was in a certain bush when you in Ghana, and if you want to visit there, I'll take my time to take you there. And he was praying in a bush and a forest, and he had a voice to go ahead of him, walking extra mile. And walking an extra mile, he actually got to a certain big mountain, and he established there to pray. And through him, he said, an angel appeared to him, and a Ghanaian pastor, he's an angel appeared to him. And they made the place a church place and a prayer place that whenever people go there to pray, it transforms life. It transforms their life. It gives them relief, healing. And when they are in trouble, they get breakthrough. And some go there, pray for wife, marriage, and they get it. Some go there to pray for um, a child, and surely they get it. They get it. So that's what I would say. That's what I would say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Quick
Now,
question.
so, okay,
I'm
go ahead.
who has a question?
Okay.
Yes, thank you so much for the history. I'm just wondering, who brought Christianity into your community?
Thank you so much. I love that question. That was what I was about to start. That's what I was about to continue with it. And you just got it. You know, it looks like today we all learning about the proverbs of Ashanti all the time. Okay, so we go. Let me tell you this. I would just say, traditional African religion and modern science is just to explain, predict, and control, and to create these functions as a value of outcome, in our practice of the spirituality. What I'm going to say is that African spirituality is simple acknowledge the belief in the practice or touch and form in every facet of human life. Thereof, African Christianity spirituality cannot be separated from today, our modern or everyday life that we have today, because of we have so much demons around, and we cannot omit Christianity from our everyday life. Christianity was brought to Ghana or sub-Saharan Africa in 15th century. It was the coming of the arrival. Those who brought it are the Dutch reform, and we have the Catholic people brought it, the Pentecostal people, so these are the people who actually brought it into our country. Are you there with me?
Yes.
Okay, so during the base of the Presbyterian, the Wesleyan, Methodist missionaries, in the 19th century, they laid the foundation of Christianity Church in Ghana. They lived that in Ghana. So today, Christianity is the largest region in Ghana, which is occupied about 71.3% of the country population. 71% of the country population, which is the largest population in Ghana here, being members of various Christian denominations. And most of Christians belong to Protestant denominations, especially like Pentecost, Catholic Church, and we have the Methodists also as well. And so these are the people who actually brought it. What does it mean? What does it mean to be a Christian? Before I'll shape on that some what it means to be a Christian, now that we know how Christianity came here, I want to join this with a traditional religion and to see the impact in our belief, in our spiritual belief, before I move on, what it means to be a Christian. So we will understand Christianity is not just what people think, but it has a main word that we need to pray. We need to focus on that. So seeing those days, like I told you about the traditional religion, how we worship God through the creation, things that have been created. When we receive children, when we receive a seed, which is a children, we give thanks to the supreme being. And even before we name a child, we hold a child in our hand and present the child to the supreme being about the supreme being giving us this seed. We all believe that seed conceiving of a child doesn't come that simple. It doesn't come that easy. And so when we have it, we need to present to the supernatural God so that the supernatural God will grant the petition and the mission of the child, and also protect the mission of the child, for the mission of the child to be established on this earth peacefully and in a worthy manner. When you bring it to the Christianity, it's all the same. That when somebody gives birth in the church, in the Christianity, we still come to the church, we hold the child, we present the child to the supreme God, before to the members, and before giving a name to the child. So you can see that the traditional religion, the culture, have a role to play, and also in the Christian religion, which tells you that we haven't taken the culture of tradition from the Christianity word, because we say that culture came before all religions. That's how I told you that traditional religion doesn't have a founder. It's the way that people live. It's the way that people live, how we live in houses, homes. That is what we mean by traditional religion. Now, coming to our marriage aspect, when we find a lady that we want to marry, to join people together as husband and wife, according to the traditional religion, this is what actually goes on. Family meet, after family meet, just the traditional religion can, if I'm about to explain all about marriage in the traditional religion side, it's going to take a lot of time. So I'm just going to give you the most important part, and maybe another day you can fix some time and I will deal with these sector of marriage aspect as well. So when families meet and accept the couples, and before they join them together, they need to call upon the supreme being to accept and bless these couples with womb, with what you call seed, peaceful marriage, and bless their home and all those. This thing also goes on in the church. In the church, the same thing. There's nothing different in it. All of them are the same thing. The only top up or additionally is the word that we say that what God have joined together, no one should put asunder. And we quote the Bible for you to understand that God created man and woman, and he says that both of them will leave their parents and be joined together as a husband and wife. As a husband and wife. So all these traditional religions, the same thing goes on in the church. Everything that we do, even today in this our modern world, what goes on is that when we perform the traditional religion, traditional marriage, they come to the church and also perform the Christian marriage. And Christian marriage is the word. The difference is the word. Traditional marriage and then Christian marriage. And what goes on is that this is the time we bring the Western life where majority to 1,000 of people or hundreds of people will be gathering together, bring them gifts. But in the traditional, the same thing goes on. They bring gifts as well. So you can sojourn them and see that what we have, what the traditional religion consists of, is also part of the Christian religion. As Jesus said, he did not came to actually throw the law or to destroy the law, but actually to put more fuel in it or to make it stand better, to do it very well, you know. So that is how actually goes on. Now, let me tell you also this.
Excuse me, Reverend Armstrong. We have two questions, two raised hands, and if you wouldn't mind,
go ahead.
The first person is Minister Malik. Go ahead, and then Brother Bamandeli.
Well, I wasn't finished. I just had one other part of my question.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mama. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to know also, when the Bible is used, is it in English or is it in the language of the group that's using it?
Thank you so much. Okay, let me tell you this. I love your question, but I remember what the Roman used to say, and I wish that Africa, we're going to have it. And let me take it this way. Whenever you ask a question, me being a Ashanti man, sometimes I need to bring you some proverb before I can go on. You know, that's how I was raised from the community that I'm from. You know, okay, so we used to say when you go to the room, you remember that? You go to the room?
To the room?
Do as the Romans do.
When we go to the Romans, when we go to the Rome, we do what the Romans do.
Okay.
Okay, and this is to tell you that this is Ghana, and this is Africa. This is Ghana, Ashanti, we speak Twi. So if you speak more English, listen up, not everybody will understand you. So we have to bring into our local dialect. So that's what we mean by when you go to Rome, you do what the Romans do. So we speak the local dialect so that everybody who's coming, those who doesn't even understand the language of English will be able to understand our local dialect. That is why my church name, the church that I'm a founder or leading, as God has praised me, as a founder of a church, we have the local name dialect used for the name of the church, Jesus Christ Yohene. So even a lady who has never even, and a grandparent who have never been to classroom before or have never known English before will be able to pronounce it. When somebody is looking for a way or direction, they will be able to show them where we are. So as most of the churches in Ghana are, they preach in local languages, Twi, especially Twi. Those that most of the time you see on the social media, these are big churches. When I talk about big churches, I think, let me say, these are people who have got use of the social media and thinking that people around the globe are watching them from different countries. They want to use those language because they have a lot of youths who also understand the English. But sometimes they even have English and Twi, the local dialect together. So somebody will speak the Twi and they transform to English, or somebody the pastor speak English and they translate it to the local dialect so that each and everybody would understand. So back to your question, yes, they use the local dialect in terms of that.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Minister Malik, and then Brother Bamandeli.
Thank you, Minister Imhotep, and welcome to our guest, Reverend Armstrong. Thank you for gracing us Black Knowledge Matters with your presence. I just had a quick comment and two short questions. And I wanted to follow up on something you said earlier about the quote that we all are quite familiar with, reference in the Bible, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." Now, despite the vast body of knowledge on indigenous, Black, African religious practices and spiritual systems, many which predate all foreign religious systems by thousands of years, according to our scholars. And we all know that these foreign religions were physically and mentally forced upon our people with the threat of death and torture. Many of these foreign religions were used to justify the enslavement of our people. So that's my comment. Now, my question is, question number one is, why are these foreign religious systems still being embraced by our people? Question number one. And question number two, if you know this answer, what percentage of African people are practicing indigenous African religions?
I think that we may have dropped off, but I'm right. I'm typing your question in. I'm sure when he comes back, we'll make sure it gets answered.
Okay. Thank you, Mama Tanisha.
So it was, why are foreign religions being utilized, right?
Yeah, still being embraced by our people, question number one.
Okay.
And number two was if he knew the percentage of African people who were practicing indigenous African religions.
Okay. Let's hopefully he will get back with us in just a minute. But I think that he had said about 75% practice Christianity, which probably leaves about, probably a little less than that 25, because you also have Muslims. You have a Muslim population as well. So, probably, I don't know, less than 25% taking into account the Muslims. So maybe half of that's Muslim. And again, I know I'm not the speaker. I'm just going to fill in for a second until hopefully the expert comes back. But I found that, as he said, everyone said that they were Christian, but they all practiced the other spiritual things as well. Like they all swear that they are Christians. But then when you come to the river, they gotta honk the horn twice. Like, that's not in the Bible. Or when, you end up with an infertility, issue with your child. Then you go and take your child to that local elder who knows about it, and that's not in the Bible. Yet they still are in that church, on Sunday. And my thought is, like, colonization had a different, my perception, because I'm still trying to figure all this out too. Just colonization has a different impact on the two different sides of the water. And they're able to kind of separate it. Like, they just like kind of draw this little mental, line and say that's this and this is that. And then they are able to merge across. So let me send a message on WhatsApp and see what is happening here.
And then let's have Brother Bamidele ask his question, and if you well, I guess you can't do both, huh? You guess you can't type in on that.
I can't. I've done that, so go ahead. I'm ready.
Go ahead, Brother Bamidele. Go ahead with your question.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
My question is, given the fact that Reverend Armstrong indicated that 71% of Ghana is considered Christian, what percentage is the overlap? People who practice Christianity and who hold to traditional beliefs either regularly or at times of great need and stress.
That's a good question. That would be good to know. I hope that he'll be able to join us.
And I'm thinking that answer is going to be a very high percentage, like 92 or 5 or something. A good 90 would be my guess.
Isn't that the same percentage? Like if you're in Haiti, a lot of people are Catholic, but they also practice the Vodun religion as well.
Exactly. In fact, there is a joke that Haiti is whatever percentage they say, I think it's 85% Christian or Catholic for the most part, and 100% Vodou.
Yeah.
But it
Well,
would be interesting to see how he answers this and what his perceptions are in terms of people who deal with this. And I'm wondering also, to what degree is this 71% people who nominally embrace Christianity? And this is not to say that they are not real Christians, because they do hold to and practice some facets of these beliefs. But again, where is the overlap? And how do we assess that in modern day Ghana? And for the meanings of delivery of mental health services, services with, childbirth, or conception issues and those kinds of concerns.
Yeah, those are really good questions. It'd be interesting to see what he says. Now, I'm not going to call this person out, but they have expressed to me privately that they had a question that they were considering about asking, and they were going to, it's kind of a difficult question, which requires a certain amount of diplomacy when asking, but maybe that person would come forward and give us that question. I'm not gonna call them out or anything like that, but as we're in our general discussion, that person may come. Oh, there he is.
Yes.
Bob, Jeff, go ahead.
Yes, it's a delicate question, I think. The question I have has to do with the afterlife. How are people perceived in the afterlife, ancestors, in the event that you are a Christian now, and to go to heaven, you must accept Christ as your Savior. And the question then becomes, well, what is the state of our ancestors who did not practice Christianity? And that's one question. The second question is, how are the non-practicing, the indigenous spiritual systems, how are they perceived by the Christian community? Are they embraced? I mean, I'm talking about someone who was not, I won't say aggressive, but they're staunchly embrace the indigenous African spiritual religion. How are they perceived? Are they embraced as okay? Or is there any tension? I'm curious about that. Thank you, Brother Minister.
All right, that's very good. And Jeff, I'm not just saying this because you're here. You usually ask things very diplomatically, so I'm just gonna say, yeah, that's kind of a touchy question, and we were kind of we didn't know how the connection would be this evening, so I was going to try to have something fill in, but of course I don't. But I ran across this person. I would like for you all to check him out. His name is Dr. Vince Bantu. Dr. Vince Bantu. And his specialty is the early forms of Christianity. And one of the things that I heard him say is that there was Christianity in West Africa before the Western Europeans came. And his evidence for this was he's now does everybody know who Mansa Musa was? Anybody? Can anybody just tell me who Mansa Musa? Who's Mansa Musa? Anyone?
Rich African.
King of Mali, I think. Mali.
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah, he's known as the richest man to ever live.
That's my hero, and that's who I like to become. That all I'm gonna say, hero.
Oh, here's Reverend Reverend Armstrong is clicking back in. He's back with us. So, Reverend Armstrong, glad you could join us again. Please take yourself off mute. And we had two questions. We're going to ask Darnisha to relate those. They're in the chat, and we'd like for you to address those two questions. Even if you have to turn off your camera, because I see you're frozen now, and I think that your transmission works better, may work better if your camera's off. We see your handsome face, but if your camera's off, we would be able to hear you better. Over.
I just sent him a message saying that, so hopefully he will get it.
All right.
We should note, though, that part of a person's discussion is in how they express it. So if we can hear his voice and we can't see how his eyes move and how he moves his head and what things are important to him, that all comes out, in the physical being in most people's conversation, especially African.
I agree.
That is true, but his transmission is causing a delay. See, like now he's off again. And so on this Zoom machine, a lot of times if you're having problems transmitting or coming across, if you turn the camera off, sometimes your audio is better. And we'd like to have both, of course, but if we can't have both, the audio is good to have. So that's why I was suggesting that, and maybe he'll come back on. But getting back to Mansa Musa, Mansa Musa was the richest man in the world. He's actually spoken of in 2000 Seasons in a derogatory way, and he took all of this gold across the Sahara and went into Egypt and destabilized the economy. He took so much wealth there, he destabilized the economy, and then he went on to Mecca. While he was in Egypt, he was talking to an Egyptian historian, a local Egyptian historian, and he was telling them about Christianity being in Mali. And Mali, in his time, is not the Mali of today. According to Dr. Vince Bantu, Mali was most of West Africa. So he was talking about a large expanse, and there were Christians before the Portuguese practicing Christianity in West Africa before the Western Europe. I had not heard that before. That was very intriguing. And this person, Dr. Vince Bantu, he has a lot of history relating to Christianity being taken to various places before the Western European, China, India, etc. So just as a reference, I think that might be a good reference if you're interested in the subject on early Christianity, how it formed, disconnected from the way the Romans considered it, changed it, made it into, they took it from being the Holy Catholic Church to the Roman Catholic Church. He has a lot of information on that. So I just wanted to add.
And the traditional Ethiopian Christianity, I think, is what was part of how it moved from West Africa to East Africa and into the Dogons because of the Nile River. I think that comes out in some of the history that we've studied about ancient Kemet and Ethiopia and Africa.
Well, yes. The Coptic Church, Ethiopian Coptic Church, is one of the oldest churches, and according to this brother, so you have the Coptic Church, you have the church where people are speaking Aramaic, you have the church where people are speaking I'm trying to remember. There's a like a derivative of Aramaic that was spoken, and a lot of things are lost in translation. In our study of sacred scriptures class, we actually showed the Lord's Prayer in the original Aramaic language, and it is quite different than the one that's used in the King James version, or as they say in traditional African American vernacular, King James version. All right.
But the
brother,
Arabs would have gotten it from the ancient Ethiopians.
not necessarily, but that
It
is
went north from there.
okay. Brother Bob Daly, go ahead. Reverend
Yeah,
Armstrong is coming back on, but go ahead, Bob Daly.
Yeah, is that language Geese?
Yeah, you know, no, it is not. But Geese is one of the that's a
Anybody hear me?
liturgical language. Yes. Hold on, Reverend. That's the liturgical language that the Ethiopian Coptic Church, they use Geese.
Okay.
Yeah, and he does mention it. Go ahead, Reverend Armstrong. Glad that you made it back.
Question out for you while you can hear me. So the question that you missed was from Minister Malik. His first question, and it's really, I'm going to see Minister Malik fix me if I'm going to try to sum it all up. His question has to do with the embracing of foreign religions, and what percentage of people practice the indigenous religions. And how can you really be free? How can you feel free practicing a foreigner's religion?
I love this question, but what I got to say that the foreign region, let me take it this, the foreign region is not actually, is not bringing the plot. When I'm not watching the video, I feel like I'm not talking to anybody. Empty room. So when we're talking about a foreign region, what happened is that it's not bad in the society, but even the traditional religion, we have bad perception. Another point, we have good and bad in the traditional religion. The traditional religion, which is from community to community, that is different from practicing the traditional voodoo, or in people actually use back in the days, people of the ancestors were using their names and using some sorts of powers, invoking bad energy onto some people. Are we there? Are we?
No, we hear you. We hear you. We hear you.
Okay. So like, let me say, when somebody give birth, somebody who have an evil eye, every place that is bad and good over there. Those who have an evil eye could easily use that evil eye and provoke or invoke any sort of disease onto a person's life. And this is whereby when the traditional Christian religion wasn't there, the traditional religion leaders will come together, an elderly person or somebody will come together and then also pour the libation to find out what is the cause of the sickness. And then later it can be revealed that there is somebody in the family using a bad energy, transforming it, bringing that disease onto the person's life. Assuming there was a quarrel between two families, there's a quarrel between a brother and a sister. Nobody knows what they know. Somebody knows the powers in the leaves, but somebody knows the powers in the river. Somebody knows the power in the tree, and they could use those powers to fight against each other. Now, bringing Christianity to this world is not actually bringing bad impartation on us, but it's actually what I would say, there's always good and bad everywhere you go in this planet. There's no matter what you do, you have the bad side, because positive and negative gives light. So no matter what goes on, you still see some bad aspect outside. So what I would say, being free from fallen religion, there is difference between religion and religion, and there's difference between fallen culture and religion. Culture is different from that. The culture is the way the people live, and we can be totally free from that. I have my own culture, and I would love to use my own culture if I see the benefit only. But when we come in terms of spirituality, it's quite different, which I was trying to tell you that, which I was about to tell you that being a Christian does not totally mean that we have forgone or thrown away our traditional belief. We haven't thrown away our traditional belief, but we join them together. So let's say, what does it mean to be a Christian? At least according to culture and changing over years, many people think that going to church occasionally or simply believing God makes them a Christian, which is not so. But the way you live your life, the way you behave, the way you treat others, that actually makes you to become makes you to know that you are a good person in the society, and you are also practicing a culture which you are going to actually base on, which can transform life and transform you as well. And for people to understand, why do we need to practice this culture? Why do we need to accept? Oh, somebody sent it out. Why do we need actually to become a Christian, and why do we need to practice this particular culture? So free yourself from somebody's culture. You can do that. We can do that by saying that I don't want to be having Christian marriage. I don't want to have a church marriage. Church marriage is actually westernization marriage. I don't want to be having my westernization marriage, but I want to have a traditional marriage. You can do that. You see, in your country, the country you are in, I will not say your country, you are from Africa, but I'll tell you that where you are today, the country that you are today, okay, they use fork and knife to eat. If you come to your own culture, which is the African culture, when you come here, we use our hand to eat. We have a natural fork, and a spoon, and that's your palm and your fingers. The natural fingers is your fork, and your spoon is your palm, your natural palm. So you could see these two things, all right? But in terms of spirituality, it's quite different. It's quite different. If you understand the concept of the Christian word and then the cultural spirituality, they are all the same. They are all the same. Whenever I am with a group, or whenever I'm with a tourist, or wherever I teach or I preach, I tell them culture spirituality, traditional culture spirituality, and Christian culture spirituality, there's nothing wrong. There's no separation. If you go through it, it's all the same. They're all telling one thing: do good, serve to supernatural God, do good, don't kill your brother, love your neighbor as yourself, be kind. That's the same. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Thank
Mama
you.
Darnisha, would you ask the next two questions, and then Sister Judy has a question.
Yes, the next question was Baba Bamandeli's question, which was, given the fact that 75% of Ghanaians are Christian, what percentage of overlap is there between, what percentage are non-Christian or traditional religion, and how much overlap? Did I say that right, Baba Bamandeli?
Yes, it's essentially. I would like to know what percentage. When I use the word overlap, how many people or what percentage practice both Christianity and adhere to the traditional concepts, practices, and understandings of their traditional spiritual beliefs and practices?
Okay. This is what I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna put on my video for a few minutes now, cut it off. Okay, please. Now let me tell you something like this. We all 100%, me being a pastor, I will tell you the truth that almost everybody in the Christian religion practices the traditional culture as well. Are you there with me?
Yes.
You get what I'm saying? We all practice the traditional culture. We all practice it. All of us.
And do you mean spiritual culture as well as other facets of culture?
Okay, I just mean spiritual culture. When we come
Okay.
to the spiritual culture, that's what we do. Now, when also bring it to the first, when we be the cultural beliefs, when we bring the cultural beliefs, we all practice it. You know, to be honest, the Bible says you shall know the truth and the truth will set you free. I would just tell everybody who will listen to me around the globe, wherever I go, the truth is just one. We shouldn't pretend as if that we are Christians, thereof that a set of belief that we believe in that somebody doesn't have. But when you go into details in African belief, every Christian will tell you that they also have a belief connected to the traditional belief, connected to the traditional belief. They will surely tell you. They will tell you that that is it. You know, sometimes we use water to pray. We use water to pray in the traditional side. So as we use water to pray in the Christian side, when we give birth, when a child is giving birth, before we name the child, we actually use water, a drip of water in the lip, on the lip, like when you see water, say water. When you see wine, when you grow and you see wine, say wine. When you come to the church, we do the same thing over there. We do the same thing over there. So you can take Matthew 15:18-28, that Jesus was speaking to people, the disciples, and people listen to me. He said that not what you eat defiles the body, but what you speak out. So as it is in the traditional culture as well. Whatever you speak out, whatever you do, that make people to see you that you are unclean or you are clean. And the same thing happened in the traditional religion. So you can see that there is interconnection between the both cultures.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And Jeff, would you come on and ask your question to Reverend Armstrong?
Yes, just a moment.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
Oh, you can stay off camera.
Yeah.
Good day, good evening, Reverend Armstrong. I just have a question about, I know I grew up as a Christian, and I know that to go to heaven, you accept Christ as your Savior.
That's right.
And I'm curious about how is it perceived for ancestors that did not practice Christianity and accept Christ as their Savior? Is there a difference in, is heaven the same consideration, or how does that work? Where do the ancestors in the afterlife compared to the Christians in the afterlife?
I really love this question, and I love it. Now you bring it to you brought your question to my current life. My current life. That's my current phrase. So that's a great question. Thank you so much, Mr. Jeffrey. Now let me take it this way. So we all follow the word of God. And whether you are a Christian or whether you are a Muslim, whether you are a traditional believer, we are all following the word of God. That's the truth. When I was young, I used to pray without reading the Bible. I didn't know anything about the Bible. But when I became a pastor, I realized that whatever I was praying, it was stated in the Bible. Everything that I pray, all the prayers that I pray, God blessed me. I came and I saw that it is in the Bible that when you pray with faith, whatever you ask God in faith, you get it. So whatever you are playing, when we are working, whatever we're doing, everything is in the word of God and nothing changes. So we are all on the same side. We just need to understand each and other, that we are on the same side. We all serving the same God. So Jesus died. And when Jesus entered into the Hades, or when he died, this is what he said: even those who were in the Hades, those who believe him also received the power. Those who believe him when he was dead, according to the Bible, what the Bible says, that he went to death, which is Hades. That's what it says. And even those who did believe him, they were saved. Those who did believe him. What does it supposed to mean? It means that we are spirit. We are alive. Spirit are alive. When you die, I will tell you this. This is my feeling. I love this. The body is different from the spirit. The body is different from the spirit. When you believe in, when we believe in Jesus, it's quite different from the whole conception. It's quite different. So when you are dead, your spirit leaves the body, and that's what we call a death. For the Bible says that God says, my spirit will not continue to strive with mankind, always, but I'll give them days of 120 days to live on this earth. So we have the power to live 120 days. But some says that because of our bad deeds, our days have even been cut to 70 years. So let's say when your deeds, when the bad deeds people are doing, when they are stealing, when they are doing bad things and they are being shot, the Spirit of God leaves the body. So when the Spirit of God, which is your spirit, when the spirit leaves the body and the body becomes collapsed, which will lead to total death, because you're not getting back again until another time God give you a second chance. So we take it that part at that particular point. So the last spirit word, which the power of God in Jesus Christ went there to also to preach them. Whoever did believe in them, they also have a supernatural life, everlasting life. Now here comes the case. Not everybody, during the olden days, the traditional religion will tell you that there are people who were bad people, even those days. Those days there were people there who were also bad people over there, who were killing people miserably, who were doing things that the Lord have not assigned them, and they also have their petition over there. And there are some also there who are doing good things. That's what we call grandfather, grandmother. Before you become a grandfather, you become a grandmother. It means you are living a worthy life. You're living a good life that the next generation will look onto you and then use your behavior to teach others. So this is what it goes. That's how it actually goes. So it means even before Christianity came, or those who believe, whether we believe in Jesus or whether they don't believe in Jesus, before that time, there are people who knows totally this is how their life is and this is how their life is. But Jesus entered into the Hades. Jesus entered into the Hades. Jesus entered into the death area. I would say that the death grounds or the death environment. And he also preached even to them. Spiritual things work faster than the physical things, as we believe. That whoever believe in his name, even he gave them power to resurrect. So he said when he was on the cross, and he gave a final blame, even the earth opened its mouth, and those dead people, the death also rise up, and they were all caught in the cloud. So it tells you that before this time, there were good people there. That's what we are saying. Before Christianity came, God has already given us a means of way that we have supposed to live before Christianity came. So Jesus made a final word by saying that he did not come to destroy the law. He did not come to collapse our traditional religion. But what he came to do is that he came to put more fuel, to make it more strengthful and qualitative, so that it will be beneficial to us.
Thank you, Armstrong. Jeff, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think it does. I think I'll just say this. It sounds the ancestors essentially were able to articulate who is good and who is bad, and Jesus essentially is essentially saying the same thing too. He's identifying the good and the bad, and so there's no contradiction in terms of who would be in the afterlife. There would be no contradiction, because both are identifying who the good and the bad are in the lives that they led. It sounds like that's what you're saying.
Okay.
That's
right. Sister, thank you, Jeff. Sister Judy, go ahead.
Well, good evening to everyone, and hello, Pastor Armstrong. Welcome. I'm so happy that you've come to.
Judith.
Yes, thank you for coming to visit with us. I had a question, and I had some trouble with my signal So I've come in twice and I missed a little bit of what you said. So my question may have already been answered. But what I wanted to ask you was the image of Jesus in what is the percentage, what image is Jesus? Is Jesus African or have an image of a Black person, or the image of Jesus that's used predominantly in Ghana or in areas that you're familiar with? Is this a non-African or a
Know
light
about all
skin?
the white Jesuses. She wants to know about all those white Jesuses everywhere, Reverend Armstrong. How do y'all
I got
deal
it.
with
I got it.
it?
That's what I'm clapping for her.
That
You
what
know,
now?
I was asked this. I was asked this question in 2019 in Cape Coast. They asked me that
Okay.
why do we have why do you all have white Jesus, white Jesus, white Jesus in the movie, on the billboards, in your churches, and then I laugh. When I laugh, whenever I laugh, it means that the Holy Spirit, the Spirit of truth, is speaking to me. And then it gives me a quick answer to answer you. That's something that I love. Then let me tell you this. This is what I told them, and I'm going to tell you now. Is that you see the problem is this. This way I got very, I wouldn't say mad or angry, but this way I get very intimate with black people outside there. They're doing a lot of movies, but they forgot to showcase their movie also with Jesus. The white people actually they are showcasing a movie with white person, showcasing a movie white person. So whenever people see the movie, especially like Africa, they think that Jesus is white. But if you trace the root of Jesus, if you trace the roots of Israel, if you trace the roots of Egypt, if you trace the roots of Jerusalem, all those, Bethlehem, they are all Africans. This is the modern world whereby they are separating it, meaning that they are Europeans or whatever they are, the Asian, but they are all Africans. But the problem is people outside there, our African Americans, you were taken from Africa to European, where the Asian, wherever they are, there is a purpose for everything. They have offended us, but there's a purpose. You need to do your duty. You need to do your duty by showcasing a movie with a black Jesus, simple as ABCD. This is simple as ABCD. I have a Bible here, which was written by a black person. I mean, not total like the rare inscription, but a black person audited it or published it. And it's a Bible, and I really love that part. So we have limit ourselves, our African American, African diaspora, they have limit themselves to the extent that not showcasing anything with Jesus in black. They are always showcasing everything of Jesus in white. So what do you want the Ghanaians or Africans to do? They will think that Jesus is white. But me, I know that Jesus is black. So I keep telling them, no, Jesus is not white, but he's actually black. But the problem is that the people doing the movie, they are white people. That makes people think that Jesus is white. Do we get it? And finally, I'll tell you, God, in the beginning, God created two people. Let's say that limited to that point. God created woman and man and woman. He didn't create white or black. God didn't create white or black. So it means that God himself is a spirit being, and you cannot describe who God is actually is. But Jesus said, whoever see him have seen God. But what I'm telling you today is, right now, as going on, if you come to Ghana, most of the churches is actually using the pastors as on their billboards, and not, it will be a time that you will not be seeing the white Jesus around. People see it to be what? They're using their pastors' images directing on the billboard and all those. But right now, we're getting to know that Jesus is not white, but actually black. I'm counting on you, Danisha, Sister Judith, Brother Jeffrey, Baba Katibazi. You all need to do something, write something, do a movie. Tell the movie people they need to be doing something with what? Black Jesus, so that African people will also know that Jesus is black. Other than that, you come to Ghana, you Africa here, and you see white Jesus billboard outside there. And that one, don't complain to me because I told you.
Well, I
So
wanted to. I
Oh,
just
go ahead.
wanted to add to that, if my question, so is there like a group of people, like has there been campaigns or efforts to make people aware, or some kind of revolt about the white Jesus in Ghana? Like there's young people or the youth, is it some kind of, effort that took place or revolt from people about this white Jesus?
Okay. I will tell you at this particular point, and on a honest board, is the answer is a big no. No. A
Okay.
big no is no. Our main focus now, especially my big task that I have been assigned by the Spirit of God, is actually to let people know that as many those who believe in God, who believe in Jesus, who have power, who have a power to become a son and or a daughter of God. This is our main task, particular point, because this is a word. The word is being divided into two. We call the demon side, we call on Jesus side, wherever you are. And I have to be honest, I'm a pastor. I can beat about the bush. I got to be straight on the platform, So we want people to understand you need to receive Jesus. Make sure you do the good thing. Make sure you do the good thing. Help your brother, help the community. Get the word going. We should stop the killing. We should actually stop killing people, using people blood for money, because that's not what God wants for us. At the end, when we die, we're not going with the money, we're not going with the houses. We need to live a peaceful life, and we should stop the war, especially Ukraine and Russia fighting. It makes no sense. Ukraine and Russia, it makes no sense. Because when we all die, at the end, many are going to die. We're going to die. When we die, we're not taking those oil with us. We're not taking the country with us. We are not taking the houses with us. We're not taking the money with us. The same way we came, the same way we shall go. So we don't see the sense of them fighting over all this. It makes no sense. And this is what our main tax is in. So at this particular point, people are not focusing. They are actually not focusing about showcasing about whether Jesus is black or not, like going to the villages or being on the social media to do that. But I remember in 2008, there was a ministry in Accra, and the ministry was talking about, they were talking about Jesus, God has a wife. And I was like, okay, people were just looking at them. Okay, what is that important to us? If God has a wife, or doesn't have a wife? What is that important? So you can take that tax as yourself. Sister Judith, you can take that as yourself, use the social media, use the TV, and we will all be supportive. And I trust the living God. Your life shall never be the same. We need people like you to stand up.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Armstrong. What a powerful communication, giving us a better understanding, overstanding from a spiritual perspective from Africa. Brother Reverend Armstrong, before you leave, I want to share my screen and just share this book with you that perhaps you have seen it, and if you haven't, I think it might be good for you to check it out. And it's called The Africans Who Wrote the Bible by Nana Banchi Darkwa. And I put this synopsis of it in the chat for everyone here. And so look at the first thing. It says, Black Africans of ancient Egypt wrote the Holy Bible, and the Catholic Church is hiding and suppressing the truth. He uses things like, okay, and I heard you say Yesu. So there's a man's name in the Ghanaian language, in the Akan language of a Yesu. He also says that for Mary, Omari, and he says for Joseph, Osafo. Anyway, his main point is that the ancient Egyptian and the people who left in the Exodus were nothing but Akan tribesmen. I put this in the chat for everyone to review and check it out. Also, I want to share before we leave, because women of Wose are going to be coming right after us. And that is Minister Alicia will be speaking here in Sacramento, African Americans for Balanced Health. They're actually going to be right on this Zoom that we're in now, and it's going to happen at 12 noon to 1:30. Minister Alicia will be talking, minding your meditation for African Americans for Balanced Health, Saturday, October 15th. Also, Mama Darnisha has shared this.
Let me share my screen. I don't know why yours is so fuzzy.
Oh, my. Okay, sorry.
Here. Let's see. When I opened yours, it was fuzzy. Is this clear?
Yeah.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Do you guys see the difference? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is Mama Amicus at One Africa, dear friend and sister. She is currently living in Rwanda, but her daughter Michelle was already in ICU for a pre-existing health problem, and then the storm hit and destroyed her home. So she has her daughter, her 2 grandchildren, and 9 additional of their children who are homeless. She has had an injury as she was trying to come. She was injured in Rwanda and is nursing a knee injury right now. So I'm just encouraging everyone to share with your networks. And right now they are looking at establishing a GoFundMe, but there's a Cash App and a Zelle that is there. If you could share with your networks, if it's $2, if it's $5, if it's $10, anything would help. And also her book, which is called Returning Home Ain't Easy, but It's a Blessing. And this book is now available on my website. The full amount of the $25 for the book will be sent to her family. The catch is the books won't come to me from Ghana for another 30 days or so. So you'll get them probably by the first week of December. So please consider supporting this incredible Black woman who has hosted many of us from all around the world and all over the diaspora and brought smiles to many, many, many faces. Back to you, Minister.
Well, I want to say Madasipa for our brother. I want to say Yeda Yamiyasi. Thanks be to God that you were able to come and be with us. And we hope that this won't be the last time that we see you, and we'll look for you when we go to Ghana. We're going to look you up. I think all these people here, and you've kind of deputized us to change that image of Jesus, the white image. You put it back on us to change it, and that's a good way to be, man. We really appreciate the work that you're doing. We thank you for joining us today. So I was talking to someone in the chat. They said that they could not see the book that I had put in the chat. It's there. It's like 148 KB. And it starts with the number 413718178-Black-Africa, and then it goes on. So that's the document that I put in. It's not the whole book, but the document. Also, I put both of those flyers, the one for Minister Alicia and the one for that Mama Darnisha has. I put them both in the chat. And thank you. Sugar D is holding up. She has a copy. The Africans Who Wrote the Bible, written by a Ghanaian, Nana Banchi Darkwa. So, brother, I hope you can get that book. I think it will aid you in your studies, and we appreciate everything. Mama Darnisha, thank you for this. Next week, Sister Rita, a minister, Bill's wife, will be talking about women's health issues. And so that's going to be another great one. We hope that you can make it. Now I'm going to turn it over to Mama Darnisha, which, okay, it's always been hers anyway. So men will have to leave because it's a woman's thing, and we'll see. Thank you for putting that. Oh, okay. Let me get that. Let me get that email. All right.
And we can also put it in the news, not new, in the information letter, newsletter.
Okay. Well, I hear Sister Doris behind me, so I'm going to leave the house, and you guys can talk amongst yourselves. Take care. I'm trying to remember how to say goodbye in Tree. How do you say it? Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
You want to say when we say bye, but you can say daye.
Daye.